Thank you guys, I'm excited to be here. It's something I'm very passionate about and something I can speak to from the heart, and I hope you guys are absorbing of the content that we put on the screen, and if you have any questions, we'll be looking at answering those questions at the end. I'll quickly introduce myself. We've been in business for 12 years. We run electrical and a security side to the business, and we've been trusted by over 4,600 clients who we have in our database. We serve the Sydney and Wollongong area, and we have been flown interstate in the past for some different projects. Just in 2025 alone, we've completed over 900 security projects, and we've delivered over 1,800 security installations protecting homes and businesses across Sydney and Wollongong and the greater regions. We're driven by a commitment to raising the standard in our industry, and I hope through the slides that are coming up, you'll see what we mean by that. Now, I'll throw it over to Scott to introduce himself.
32 years security, safety and risk, so I've dedicated my life to keeping people safe and well. And when it comes to whatever we have to achieve in life or wherever we are, the common thing for all of us is everything begins with safety. And that's what we're both passionate about, to share some things about what you can do to improve your safety and your security.
Now, this is a table of contents that we're going to go through the few points around security and the different elements. We're going to start off with the psychology of crime and risk. Scott will take us into that, and then we'll talk about the problems with the basic security, because a lot of people haven't been educated too much about these things. And we'll then dive into the behavioural triggers and diffusion and talk about the family and business protection mindset, and we'll finally finish off with what every home should have. Now let's, yes, go.
So a couple of things. First, we need to challenge your thinking about what people think from a security point of view. There's a whole principle around this, crime prevention through environment design, and the things that you can do to enhance security and safety around your house as well. The things that we do, the electronic security elements, CCTV, alarm, access control, play an incredibly important part of that, but there's other parts that we should be across as well. So things we should be doing, like not leaving our white good boxes in the recycle bin. I know council don't like that. Frosting your window of your garage, doing all these sort of things are things that we should do, little 1%ers, to enhance the security and safety. But you need to look at your own place with a fresh set of eyes. People with bad intent that come to your residence don't look at the house the same as you. They look at poor maintenance areas, poor lighting areas, those sort of things, not your front door area that you keep so tidy and well. So the things that we do, the things that we want to add in is make sure we get these things right to improve that, what we call a security sphere of influence around your house. That's how you stay safe and protect all your assets.
Absolutely, and we dive into the 5 layers of modern home security, and while we're talking about home security on stage, are there a few business owners in the room right now, just with a show of hands? A quick show of hands, do we have any business owners in the room? So you'd understand, if you've been in business, you'd understand the elements of security, especially when you're dealing with team and different clients. When we look at security, the 5 elements that we usually look out for are visibility, and that's what we can support with our CCTV. We look at detection, and our alarms and intrusion zones work well for detection. Delays are an important factor when it comes to security. So delays include locks and access control. Now, access control, just in case people in the crowd don't know too much about access control, access control is the setups that you would have at gyms and homes and schools, where you'd swipe a card and it unlocks a door, or you scan your face and it unlocks a door, or you put in a PIN code and it unlocks a door. This is what access control is. So when I dive into a bit of that later on, at least it will sound familiar. And response, so alerts and notifications. Back in the day, we used to have monitoring companies, a lot more widely used than we do today. Now we have soft monitoring with the use of technology. We have notifications that get sent to us when something happens. But there's effective ways of getting alerts, and there's ineffective ways of getting alerts, and that's what we'll dive into as well. And the evidence, of course, is when we're dealing with camera systems being installed, a big, heavy part of it, of course, is we need to make sure that the evidence is there. When something happens, the last thing we ever want to expect is that we lose the CCTV footage, or it hasn't recorded properly, or it's just missed the bit of evidence that we need to take to the cops. Now, the problem with basic security, and a lot of people don't understand the differences between security, it's usually It's usually the case when someone has been manipulated or has had their trust violated with any sort of break-in, where it's through homes or businesses. Their state gets very reactive. They're like, okay, we've been broken into, I need to protect my family, I'm gonna go to Bunnings and buy a security camera from Bunnings. And Bunnings, Costco, Jcar, JB Hi-Fi have very well marketed products, but a lot of the times they don't have the elements of security that people may need for their homes. These DIY setups will give a false sense of security to the homeowner or the business owner, because the person having it installed doesn't know too much about the system other than, okay, I just want it recording. Now, the most dangerous system is a system that gives you a false sense of security, or a cheap system. So when someone has purchased some sort of a budget system for their property or some sort of a DIY setup, it's only when the incident has occurred or the damage has been done that they think to themselves, you know what, thank God I have cameras. And when they check those cameras, they feel let down because it hasn't provided the adequate level of security that they needed. That's the most dangerous level that's the most dangerous part. It's the false sense of security. And of course, when you're getting cameras or security systems installed in your houses, whether it's alarm systems or intercom systems or CCTV, the placement of the units make a massive difference. A story I can think of is a client of ours where we've done some electrical work for, had some cameras installed a few years before they came to us for a few downlights. And they said they'd been broken into the week before. And I said, well, that's a shame. What happened? Did you find out who it was? And they're like, no, the freaking cameras were installed in the top of the eaves and the only thing we can see were the top of their heads. And these people don't know any better. They've paid a trusted contractor to install a security system with the sense and trust in knowing that and thinking that they're going to install the system the way it needs to be set up. But the placement of the units play an important role, massive factor in how the system gives you the evidence and supports your home and your business. And a lot of the times, of course, these things are electronics and they operate internal hard drives and internal PCs where they need to be maintained. And the maintaining of these systems are very, very simple, and a lot of times you can do it yourself, but it takes a contractor to speak to the client and educate them on how to do it for these things to stay alive and stay kicking the way they need to.
Please understand, when it comes to security, you can get some cheap items at the Bunnings and JB Hi-Fi. The true cost of security is the cost of security failure. What happens when it's not that deterrent? What happens when you don't have that evidence? When it doesn't give you the confidence about the protection that you need for your residents?
Now, I'm going to play a video now, and I'm going to talk about a story of a client of ours that this incident happened a few years ago. He has a shop out in Sydney, and the place had been broken into twice in 3 days, which is very, very unfortunate for the client. He didn't know if it was a targeted attack or not. But the first night that he got broken into, they broke down all the front glass and they stole a whole heap of things from the business. Obviously put him in the minus for quite some time. Being a small business owner, it was pretty painful for him. But the alarm system didn't go off. It was an unmaintained alarm system. It was installed 20 years ago. He was disappointed with the situation. It was just one of those back of mind things like, I'm sure we'll be all right. We'll never get attacked. And then when it happened, he's sort of kicking himself. So he called us the next day and he said, Pat, we got broken into last night. The glass has been shattered. They stole so much, whatever X, Y, Z. We need an alarm system installed. I said, what's happening with your existing alarm system? He said, it just didn't kick in. The zone didn't kick in or whatever. And we said, okay, no worries. Well, how about we install something where it stops a person breaking into before they actually break into? So before I say this story, I'll actually talk about two elements of security, electronic security. Under the security umbrella, there's an alarm system where the intention behind an alarm system lets the world know once the damage has been done. Once someone's broken into the property, it starts screaming out and yelling out to the neighbors saying, someone's broken into this property. And it deters someone and they start running away. The damage has already been done. The break-in has already happened. With certain camera systems we can install now, we set up things called perimeter protection. And I can go into that a bit later on as well, where if someone goes within the boundary line of the house or the business premises, the camera has an inbuilt speaker that acts as an alarm concept that scares them away before the incident occurs. So we're being proactive rather than reactive with our approach. And this video recording right now is off his old camera system before we upgraded it to have the alarm concept. So if we press play on that, unless maybe I could press play. Yes. So this is how they broke into his shop before we installed these active deterrent cameras with the inbuilt speakers. And this is after, I should press play. This is after we installed these active deterrent cameras. So we set up a boundary line just before the entry to the walkway, and as soon as they cross that boundary line, when the system's in an armed state, the camera screams out and sets off an alarm. This was another example, and something you'd notice with both of these videos is that the people, the kids, the teenagers that were breaking in are all masked up. So a lot of times people ask us, well, what if they're wearing masks? I'll speak to that in a second. So it's in that moment that you can see human behavior kicks in. And this is where Scott specializes in talking, but you can tell even if they're wearing masks, there's a deterrent that's going off. A person breaking into someone's property is already on edge. They know they're doing something wrong. So all it takes is something small to trigger them and run away. And a lot of the times people say, well, what if they're wearing masks? It's fine, no worries, let them wear a mask, but we know what human behavior is like. As soon as we have a strong deterrent that sets them off, they're going to run away. You've protected your home, you've protected your business in an effective way. Now, these are some of the points that I've talked about earlier. Now, a lot of the times when we go to houses or businesses, we see that the clients haven't been protected to the way they need to be because cameras have just been installed in ineffective locations. We're talking top of the ceilings in eaves. We're talking on the top of a roof where there's a second part of the house that's covering half of the camera. In office spaces with PIR sensors, these are the sensors for alarm systems. They're covered with furniture or they're covered with books. And the business owners and the homeowners don't know these things. So a lot of the times it takes the contractor, the specialist, the security specialist to educate them so at least they know about what to look for. No perimeter zones for their internal PIRs. No remote alert set up. The notifications are switched off. You'll find a lot of the times when people turn notifications off, it's because they're sick and tired of constantly getting notifications on motion. Getting notifications on motion when you're setting up a camera system for your property is a pain in the ass. It's counterintuitive. If we set up cameras for a person's property, we will never ever set up cameras with notifications on motion, because when a car goes past, you're getting a notification. When someone's walking their dog, you're getting a notification. It becomes counterintuitive and the clients don't end up checking their notifications. And it becomes a real pain in the ass. They end up wanting to throw their phone on the wall because it just becomes annoying. It's ineffective. When we set up notifications on these systems, it's only when they're needed, when intrusions have been triggered, when the system's in an armed state. With alarm systems, they have backup batteries, and it's always good to get these backup batteries maintained regularly. Every 3 to 5 years, they have an expiry date. Speak to your local security technician to get them checked. With camera systems, when we have camera systems set up for people's properties, if anyone with half a brain wants to break into a property, they'll go to the switchboard and turn the switchboard off. That's turn off the camera system to their house. 2 ways to avoid that. We usually tell clients that you can lock your switchboard, speak to your energy provider, get them to supply you a lock, and then that way you have peace of mind knowing that no one's going to turn power to your switchboard off. If you don't want to do that, we can set up a backup power supply called the UPS. It's an uninterrupted power supply that keeps the system going while if there was power that has ever been lost. With your alarm system, they usually have their own internal backup battery. And of course, we always want to make sure we're staying on top of maintenance with cameras and alarm systems.
So from the behaviour point of view, there's 2 types of behaviour we need to cover, theirs and yours. First, regardless of what you do with good locks, good doors, CCTV, alarms, access control, humans take habits that put a break in their own security. You leave the laundry door open on a Tuesday because that's when you're doing the washing and you need the steam to get out. You leave the back door open because bingo, your cat needs to go to the toilet. We need to be aware about what we do with our own behaviours for limiting the security we put in. Now for their behaviour, when people come to your place, your business, your house with bad intent, the brain knows what it knows. A specific part of their brain is scanning for when I'm coming in to steal, cause damage, injure somebody, what changes when I get to the environment. Now with the average residents, the answer is nothing. Or a dog might bark. I had people 2 weeks ago say, all right, I feel pretty secure. I've got a light near my back door and I put a size set of 14 shoes near the front door. So if somebody comes, they're gonna think there's a big guy inside, I'll be safe. That doesn't work. So the combination for these things and what Pat said is, when you get the system set right, you've literally got a perimeter element. So when they're crossing over, they're getting audible and visual notification. That's letting them know. That's not only as good as you being there, that's better than you being there. Because right now when you're at home, watching TV, cooking, speaking with your family, you're not watching who's in and out on that perimeter. We can do with technology what you're currently not doing. And it's the combination of those things. I've been doing security for 32 and a half years. The biggest impact is how we get a security sphere of deterrence around your house. And that's what we do with the systems that we have.
Now, the perks of getting the right system, we've spoken a lot about all of this previously. It does give you the element of safety and peace of mind. I think people in today's world underestimate the value of peace of mind, because in today's world, we're living such crazy lives with notifications from social media, with seeing the news blowing up half the world over in the Middle East and whatever's going on. There's constantly things that are grabbing your attention, and there's constantly things that become noise in a day-to-day, from day to day, week to week. It's constant noise between business owners, between corporate employees, between running a family with a few kids. It's constantly happening. The element of security brings a level of peace of mind to people, and the value of what that does is really underestimated until something happens. When an incident occurs, and it's just like insurance, I actually talk about it quite a bit and compare it to insurance. People purchase insurance in knowing they have peace of mind. God forbid something ever happens, whether it's car insurance, life insurance, house insurance, whatever it is. Security is getting the right security installed for your property, whether it's your home or your business, your two largest assets, give you the right level of peace of mind just in case something ever happens. You know, it's one less thing you have to worry about. Now, before I click play onto this video, this lady was a client of ours. Last year was the first time we dealt with her, and she was telling, we did a bit of electrical work for her house as well, and she was telling us that her husband works night shift. He usually leaves the house around 9 p.m, comes home at 4 a.m, and she's home alone. At this time, she was pregnant. She was heavily pregnant. She was downstairs watching TV in the living room, and while she was watching TV, it was about 11 o'clock, she noticed someone at her alfresco door. Now, she's within direct sight of the alfresco door, and she has fences up. She lives in a freestanding home. She has fences up. She's home alone, heavily pregnant. Her husband's at night shift, and she's watching TV. She can see someone's trying to break into her house at that moment, and she didn't know what to do. She also knew that this guy was on something, because if she can see him, she's also thinking, why can't he see me? She noticed his face and what his demeanor was like, and imagine the uncertainty that would leave in your family, whether it's your husband and your wife or your kids, or in business. We then stepped in and said, okay, well, we can support this and we can avoid anything like this from even happening. At that point, a person becomes traumatized. Whatever happens, whether the person's broken into the house or not, the person becomes traumatized, because it's a feeling of vulnerability and it's a feeling of feeling unsafe in your home. We said, well, we can install these systems that protect your property and we can stop a person from entering your boundary lines. And we did install this system for her. And this is what happened about 6 months after. This, I think, was in February, on the 21st of February this month. Last month, sorry, 21st of February last month. Yep. That's exactly what the system is designed to do with the right camera system when it's set up properly. There's a boundary line, a perimeter. We've set up perimeter protection in front of the person's property. We set it up in an armed state. We set it on a schedule between 10 p.m., 6 a.m., whatever your lifestyle needs. They step in, they break the boundary line, and then the system acts as its own security guard for the house.
You are under surveillance.
He runs a bit funny. I found that funny. She didn't, but yeah, only because he runs a bit funny. I thought I'd attach a bit of humor to that. But that's essentially, we get these videos from our clients after we install these systems for their properties, because a person doesn't know what happens at nighttime. A person only knows something might have happened at nighttime or when the house is unoccupied if there's damage, if something has been stolen, or if there's any evidence. While you're sleeping at nighttime, you don't know if someone has intentions of breaking into your car or breaking into your house or just snooping around. When the systems are set up properly, when the right systems are installed and they're set up properly and the contractor trains the client on how to use them, things like this happen all the time and we don't see them.
Think what's really happening with that. Right now you're relying on the fact I've got a solid door and I've got a solid lock. We're extending how far you're protecting your residence by another 4 or 5 meters. That's what you're protecting, what you own.
Yeah. Scott, you can speak to this. Yeah.
So the thing is about the awareness and communication. I mean, right now with these sort of things, you saw some of those responses and setting that up right. Right now, if there's people looking at your residence and people that are looking for a robbery for these sort of things, in case you don't realize, they come to your place the day before bin night. They lift up your recycle bin to see if you've got any boxes for anything valuable. These are things you're not aware and across. We're getting technology to help let you know when there's exceptions to this stuff. That's how it ties into keeping you safe. Protecting what's important to you.
Okay, perfect. A few people in the crowd got startled. Now I saw that just by a raise of hands. Who got startled? Be honest. And just by another raise of hands, who's curious to know who did that? Isn't that interesting? And this is where we understand the human behavioral element to when things happen. When people feel unsafe and people feel vulnerable and they feel like their safety has been triggered, they're always curious to want to find out an answer for it. And that's why Netflix documentaries around cold cases are so great, because at the end of the Netflix documentary, you're left on edge and you just don't feel right because you don't have the answers. You don't know who the killer is. You don't know who kidnapped the girl. You're left on edge because you want to know who the answer, what the answer for the documentary was. Now, this leaves a massive impact on a person's day-to-day well-being, because when someone gets broken into, other than the fear factor and the vulnerability and the safety element, it leaves a massive impact on the person's cognitive behavior. Whether it's a father at home protecting his family, if he gets broken into at nighttime, the next day he's going to constantly be thinking, is my family safe? Are my kids safe? Am I going to get broken into again? Are they going to go for my car? Are my insurance premiums going to go up? If it's a business owner, are my employees safe? Was it one of my employees? Was it someone that's connected to my employees? And these questions are going to constantly go on and on and on. And that will take up a lot of your cognitive energy, and it will start affecting your decision making in your day to day. Now, you could be a C-suite executive, you could be a business owner, you could be a mum and dad with 3 kids, and you have to stay focused and you have to stay on and alert with your responsibilities in life. This is the impact that a security system leaves with people. It gives them peace of mind knowing that there's one less thing they have to worry about in today's busy world, because the security is set up properly for their property. These are the things that we say at a minimum modern security standards should be like for homes and businesses. Now, I think we are running, are we running out of time? Yeah, okay. Look, we're over in B19, over that way. We can talk about this day in, day out. That's why I'm running out of time. Here's the QR code. Feel free to follow us on our socials. Get to know our brand, get to know what we do, get to know who we are and what we're about. Both myself and Scott are very passionate about what we do in the industry, and we can speak to it from two different sides of it.
I think there needs to be a massive round of applause because I don't think security's ever sounded so interesting, personally. I did have to turn away when those videos were on. You know how I feel about watching those videos. It automatically makes me want to go